Trevor. Yeah, no, you know, I for a long time didn't do or take part in these cons or anything like that, and shortly after I decided to do Clerks 3, I said, you know, I'm going to be all in. I'm going to do everything. I'm going to go out there and meet the fans. I don't know why. For some reason, I always thought that cons, I was going to be like plastered against the wall with people just hitting me with Star Wars questions. So I was very nervous about coming out to these things.
By the way, if you line up to the microphone to ask a question, get a Star Wars question in the chamber for Jeff.
Do not ask me Star Wars questions.
This guy right here, he has a Star Wars question. I know. He's coming. Oh, no, he doesn't. No.
So yeah, no, coming out and meeting the people, it's been great, and it's like Brian said, it's so strange to like have parents introducing their kids to the movie. I mean, it's a very bizarre thing.
Yeah, when I see parents introducing their kids to the movie, I'm like, no. Why? Watch My Neighbor Totoro.
So on the Clerks X, the 10-year anniversary, we get to see the original audition tapes. So I want to know, have you ever revisited those, or have you ever checked those out, or is it like, that's in your memory, that's in the past, I'm going to move forward from that? Right?
I remember when we were ready to shoot for Clerks 3, I was like, who the fuckers I'm working with again? Hold on a second. And I was like, oh, shit. No, that's something I haven't seen in a while. I remember the audition. I remember it's a great workshop for actors who want to learn what not to do in an audition, because it was awful for me, from my aspect of it. But in watching other people do their auditions and just see, like, man, if I could go back and tell that 23-year-old, you know, the important advice about this upcoming movie, which would have been, you should have gotten a fucking good lawyer. No, I'm just kidding. Not really, but I should have. It's that type of thing where I was very blessed to see this, and so when I go back to have people see those auditions, it's such a weird time capsule that should be buried in dirt for 50 years.
How about you, Jeff?
Yeah, no, I don't watch any of that stuff. Yeah, no, it was weird. Like when I went to the audition, I had never even read the script or anything. I actually went there with a friend of mine and wound up making fun of him. I was like, dude, you're a terrible actor. And he was like, well, then you audition. So
that is such a villain origin story.
I went up and I auditioned for Jay. I asked Kevin, like, what? I'm going to go up there and audition. Who should I be? He said, I need you to audition for Jay because I wrote this part for Jay, but I'm not sure Jay is going to be able to do it. So I read for Jay.
God, what a fucking interesting multiverse Clerks thing that would be.
A whole different movie.
Jeff's like, noinch.
And then for Mallrats, the studio he had to bring in a lot of people to read for Jay, including Seth Green. So there's like a ton of different multiverse Jays out there. That's great.
Did Jeff doing the tuck? Like, there's so many things. Somebody invented Portal Gun, like in Rick and Morty, so I can check this out.
What's the origin story for Elias, though? How do you get into Clerks 2?
Well, I auditioned for a wonderful movie called Now You Know, written and directed by the brilliant and talented Jeff Anderson. And he also stars in it. It's a triple threat. He does a lot of singing. No, I was in Now You Know, Kevin. It's like I think it's a really great movie, and Kevin's got a cameo in the first scene. He's super funny. Kevin and Jay, they're both super funny in that bachelor party scene. And he saw the movie and just asked a few years later, he asked me to do Clerks 2.
That's excellent. Now I'll say, I don't see, it's very hard to see, but if anybody has a question, move up to the microphones and we can definitely start going to those as well. But I do want to know as well that when you're bringing out Clerks 3 and you're getting ready for that film release this upcoming fall, is there some kind of message that you want to talk about that film? Again, not necessarily spoiling it, but we know that Kevin has said,
okay.
You'll say the whole thing.
Kevin will sing it, but it's me.
Brian, we know that Kevin has lended his own personal story a bit to your story in this film, correct? So is there some kind of message or anything like that you want people to know going into Clerks 3?
The message, the deep, and it's heartfelt from all of us, message that we have about Clerks 3 is, please go see it in theaters.
From the bottom of our hearts.
From the bottom of our
need
hearts.
this.
I mean hearts. No, but here's the thing, and I'm being really honest with, is that the way that producers see what they should invest in is what have you done lately kind of attitude. It is what it is, that's the machine that it is. So Kevin has things in the chamber like a Mallrats 2. Would y'all like to see a Mallrats 2? Alright, well then get to the theaters and spend money for Clerks 3 because then they go, oh, people actually will go out to theaters for this guy's movies. Do you want to see a Clerks cartoon? Get out and see Clerks 3 so that we can have people go, yes, we'll green light this.
Right,
And that's what they do.
Do you have the sense that we're perhaps preaching to the converted a bit here? Are there a bunch of undecideds in this audience?
No. There's like 5 of you guys, you know who you are. You're going for some sort of torrent from Russia or China, seeing all that's out in theaters right now. Some of you have probably even watched the Multiverse fucking movie right now with some fucking Chinese lettering at the bottom. I know you crowd. It's funny how they don't. Damn it, he's got him in his claw.
Jeff, anything about Clerks 3 that you want to mention as a message of the film, or anything that you want people to think about as they're getting ready to see it this fall?
No.
Okay, fair enough. I guess I
He's
could
trying to trick me into giving you some information.
I'm really trying
falling
to.
for it.
I'm trying to.
So the movie,
You're going to spoil the whole
the
thing.
movie begins in the year 3044. Mankind has just a laser.
It's like
I warned you.
It's magic, right? All right, we do have some people. I want to make sure we get to your questions as well. What are you wearing? I can't see. Go up to the microphone.
Have you ever played the video game Metro?
Yes.
Yeah, your Metro guy.
Hansa. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Nice.
Yes.
Awesome. Who are you, and what question do you have?
My name's Elias, and I was wondering if you have any.
Did you just say
Is
Elias?
this a multiverse?
Everybody pause. 2 names are the same name.
I don't know. Yeah. Should I change it or something?
No, you're good.
Okay. I was wondering if you have any bootleg copies of Dogma, because I can't find it anywhere.
All right, so
It's not bad.
the question was, where can we find Dogma? Dogma, a fantastic movie written by Kevin, came out in 2000 or 2001, I forget which, is owned personally by Harvey Weinstein's estate, personally. So he's in a bit of he's busy at the moment, shall we say. And so his estate is figuring what to do because some people want parts of that estate for things that he may have done to them. And so until that is settled, someone is going to buy the rights to his personal catalogs of films that he owns, and by then, they'll hopefully have a re-release of Dogma. But in the meantime, it's like on eBay and stuff for like $80 to $120 to $160 or something. But
I do think, yeah.
Watch it for free on YouTube, you son of a bitches.
Well,
I want my 20 cents of residuals, goddammit.
I heard that over here too. I believe in that Kevin Smith Club, if you are at some tier, right? Somebody's nodding at me. All right. So so if you want to get around it that way, you can as well. But does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Great.
Harvey's probably screening it in prison. You gotta give a ramen to get in.
Yeah. Bag of cigarettes. As if that guy hasn't done enough harm, he has to like fucking steal
You can
movies
see.
from people.
You can see Dogma if you bring me a potted plant.
What a great message.
Who goes to a library, nerd? Jocks like me don't do that.
All right, I'm going to go to this microphone now. Oh, she was next. Okay, go ahead.
Your name is Randall.
It's close. So I was just wondering, since the plot of Clerks 3 is revolved around Randall having a heart attack, did it ever get like emotional on set? Because Kevin had a real life heart attack, and I was wondering if it ever get emotional and you guys appreciating him more or anything along the lines.
I don't appreciate him. I don't appreciate his ruse. His cunning attempt to trick me into more movies. Yeah, no, Kevin's pretty well adjusted to the heart attack. It wasn't terribly emotional, no.
No, he definitely knows that he's milking the shit out of that. There's a reason a lot of people make cameos in this movie, and even in Reboot. They were like, the poor bastard had a heart attack. Sure, I'll do your little movie.
Percentage would have probably, right?
What was that?
Percentage Hemsworth in the reboot?
I don't even know how we got Chris Hemsworth in Reboot. I mean, for fuck's sake, the guy's just a hologram. Who knows if that's even really him?
Thank you.
But maybe the most important cameo in Reboot, Brian Bauer.
I'm the one who's the most. I'm 3 different characters. in
That's
that
right,
movie.
that's
So
right.
I was the Eddie Murphy of the clumps at that point.
I've always said you are the Eddie Murphy of this universe.
You're so crazy. Can't even do the laugh.
All right, we'll go to you.
Hey, my name's Mert.
Hey,
I
Mert.
got a question for Jeff, actually. Kevin's been very open over the years talking about your character in Clerks being based on Ryan Johnson. Is there any pressure on you knowing that you're portraying someone Kevin knows quite well? And do you see the growth in the films of your character kind of coordinated with Ryan Johnson's growth, which has been very open on the podcast he does and everything else?
Who's Brian Johnson? No, yeah, it's, I didn't actually know that was Brian Johnson at the beginning of Clerks, so I shot Clerks, we did it, and then after the fact, I found out that Randall was based on Brian Johnson, so I didn't have that fear going into it. It would have been a whole, I would have had a big long beard. Would have been a whole different movie.
Thanks.
All right. Are you waiting for a question?
Yeah, I just,
We're gonna go
I'm
back
as
here.
big as a projector screen. I don't like to block everyone's view. Jeff, I was just wondering, since we're on harder to find stuff, and so now you know, is there a best way to get that?
Harvey Weinstein's happened.
Yeah, that's another Harvey Weinstein thing. Yeah.
Oh shit, is it really?
Yeah. So if you got some ramen or smokes, you could probably see it somewhere.
This panel's getting a little down, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, at least his dick is running off. That's true.
It's actually interesting, the last show, I don't know which one it was, we were in another town and somebody was asking me about Now You Know, and I said, I don't even have a copy of it. At some point I had boxes and was giving them out, and this nice gentleman who I told the story to came back the next day and gave me a copy. So now I have one copy of the movie.
We could do, Jeff and I would be happy to do like a beginning to end live rendition of it for you right now if you want. You guys got 2 hours?
All right, right over here.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Cool, yeah, thanks for being here. I'm so excited about Clerks 3. I can't wait to see if Trevor makes it past Lister Fiend and Pillow Pants. But my question is, and since we're all friends, I hope you can be like just totally honest and with full arrogance. You talked about the View-Askew universe. So I've always like kind of talked with friends about how I think what you guys did, what Kevin Smith did with you guys, may have inspired what Marvel did. And I was wondering if you could speak to that, or if you think that I'm just crazy, or if you guys see some inspiration in
I think it was Orson Welles who said it best. But, I personally take credit for what's the Chris? The Thor Chris? I don't know what his name is. Chris Hemsworth, yeah. He owes me money. If it worked for Clerks too, there's no Thor Ragnarok, I don't think.
Since we're talking as friends, just 2 guys together talking about friends are and stuff, and saying, it was just bullshit, to be honest with you. That this fucking writer couldn't think of putting a movie in a different fucking town. And to be honest with you, Hughes did this in his movies, Pretty in Pink and all that jazz. I mean, he's not the first. So stop giving this fucker credit. But this is just between 2 friends.
Are we still friends?
To follow up on that a little bit, there is a new line of comics that Kevin's bringing out, Secret Stash Press, that's also going to be available in the fall. It's like he's a really good marketer, having Clerks 3 and this comic line launch at the same time. But it's going to be an anthology, and so he's going to be able to tell like kind of one-shot type stories about your characters within the View-Askew universe. So is there a story you would love to hear your character have in this comic?
Yeah, Elias' origin story, that would be interesting. Like setting up Bible camp. Or, like trying
One
to...
time at Bible camp.
No,
Elias as a computer programmer?
yeah. No, I think Elias would think that computers are from the devil. I guess maybe not. He likes Transformers, so he's cool with machines and stuff. I don't know. I can't see him as a programmer somehow. More of a family therapist. Or like, what else would Elias do for a career?
We have our own characters to think about. Now we gotta think about you.
It's all about Elias.
But I think that's the title of that comic. It's all about Elias.
It does sound like an ABC sitcom.
Right.
Jeff? What about you? Do you want to see a Randall story?
I do. I want to know what makes this guy tick. I'm interested in reading that.
I want to see more of the inside of his apartment. Yeah, that really intrigues me.
Yeah. Clerks 3. Go see it.
All right. Brian, what about you?
I don't know. I think where we left off with Clerks 2, I thought it would have been funny to do like two clerks and a baby kind of thing. and this time the baby is not the Elias character.
We did that in Clerks 2. Elias is the baby.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's really funny.
You ready for a question?
Thanks for coming. Huge fan. Question for Jeff. It's about the Randall walk.
There's always one.
Well, it's for me. No. I'm not asking you to do it. I'm saying I wasn't doing it. It is
I'm coming to talk to you like friends.
For me, it's the ultimate exclamation point on the smartass. Like when you're done with what it's the perfect punctuation.
Just as friends. Don't ask me to fucking walk like that.
No, I don't want you to do it. I'm asking.
I'm old. I have to live around.
No. I'm saying, where did that come from? Because it's just hilarious. Like, you're already, like, you own somebody already. And then you're just like,
Yeah, no, the original script had me tap dancing into the store.
it's so much
That's what
better.
it
This
asked
is so
for.
much better.
And the real story is we shot, 20 days. I had one day off. And Kevin at some point asked me, he said, what are you going to do tonight on your day off? And I said, I'm putting on my Wranglers and I'm going out. Yeah. And he was like, do that, don't tap dance. So that's where the Wrangler came from. I'm going to put out a DVD because I've seen so many bad Wrangles. I'm going to put out a how-to.
It's brilliant. Thank you.
A DVD.
You're so old school, dude. It's a YouTube clip or TikTok.
Put out
See,
a
he doesn't know.
VHS.
Jeff in real life doesn't know about the internet yet, to be honest with you. So.
Over here.
Okay, so I don't know if any of you have children, but it makes me very curious. Going from, you already know where I'm going, I think. Okay, so I'm curious how your families and children, if you have any kids, how you can, any funny stories of explaining to them, having them watch maybe Clerks 1,
I've got one.
and then going into Clerks 3 and trying to explain this to your spouses or your kids especially, because it makes me really nervous. Does that make sense?
Well, first off, the world will be happy to understand that not either one of us has procreated. So y'all have no little ones of us coming in the world and that we know of. Trevor, I don't know. There's been times at certain hotels. I don't know where he disappears to. Check back with us in 9 months. Maybe there'll be someone. I'm kidding, of course. But none of us have children. Isn't that bizarre? I think it's the radiation in New Jersey.
What about significant others? I mean, it's just to me, I remember watching Clerks for the first time at 16 years old, and I'm thinking now, oh my gosh, if I were acting in this movie, I totally deserve it, but if I was acting in this movie and then I went to 2, and okay, so we're getting a little bit more mature, and you guys, 2 was great, but when you go into 3, are you guys getting razzed at some point by close family about, I guess just how to explain going, especially being out of acting, especially for you being out of acting for quite some time and then coming back into it. You don't have any funny stories of anybody giving you a hard time about
The story that came to my mind was when 2 came out, my mom is one of 5 and my dad is one of 6, and so I have a bunch of uncles and aunts and a bunch of cousins, and they all, in Minnesota, they all got together and they took up 2 rows of the theater to watch this movie. And my grandmother is there, 100% Polish, 4'10". And my cousin was telling me this story. He was sitting directly behind her, and when the donkey scene happens, he just hears her go, "Oh, Trevor, no."
finger cuffs
And then she died.
Oh my gosh. Somebody had to have somebody family like going, okay, this is gonna be weird.
No,
Can
none
you
of
give us a
them
heads up
were
this
fixing
time?
at all. Like, none of them. Yeah.
I remember one time being in a grocery store. I was in Pennsylvania in a grocery store with my mother. And these guys recognized me and we took pictures. We were in the cereal aisle. We took pictures and everything was great. My mom was like, oh, look, he's being recognized. And they went on their way and my mom and I continued shopping. And I guess they went up to the store, and up to the register, and they paid for it. And just before they left, he stuck his head around the aisle and he said, try not to suck any dicks on your way through the parking lot. My mother just looked at me. I'm like, long story.
That is perfect. I normally save this as a last question that I like to ask, but I really do. We have something that I'd love to have
Oh, it's
three of
very
you do
special.
here in just a moment. So I'm going to ask this question now, and that is, you do dozens of these types of panels, and I'm wondering if there is a story or a message that you're never asked about that you'd like to be asked about. And I'll go to Brian first.
Stories that I'm never asked about?
And that you just always wanted to share, but you're like, oh man, I wish someone would ask me about my origami hobby. I don't know.
Is that you looking through
You
my
took my
window?
answer.
That's gonna sound like I made it up.
No, I mean, there's nothing I ask. I kind of just tell people, like, look, in local towns, support the arts in everywhere you can. I know a lot of school boards, they get the vote there for their kind of budgets and stuff, and so everybody's like, sports is great. Well, then make sure we have coaches for football and basketball, but, you know, we get shafted on, you know, the drama club or the musicians, the bands get shafted on that, so, yeah, thank you. I mean, if you're fans of comic books, you're fans of comic book movies, it all starts in the arts. So.
Boo, art nerds. Just as bad as library nerds.
So it's that type of thing where I always just say, like, you know, please support the arts and in every way, and that's by going to the local arts too. Go to your local community theater, support their shows, go see, you know, even those little kids who are doing their third grade fucking dance recital, and you're just like, oh my god, why didn't I not bring whiskey with me? At least you're enjoying the arts and a drink or something. But yeah, that's something that they don't get asked, because who wants to talk about politics in that sense? But in a sense, please support the arts.
Yeah, it's a really important message. Jeff?
Nobody has, I can't think of anything that somebody hasn't asked me.
I wish people would ask about my hot new cryptocurrency. It's going to the moon type of things. And it's called Trev There's one that has been minted, it's mine. But yeah, anybody wants to get out of my Ponzi scheme, I mean cryptocurrency, you just need to bring along 5 friends.
Did you have one more question before? And then, yeah, go
Well,
ahead.
yeah, it just ticked off the hobbies I was thinking about it. Ryan, could you really quickly explain the secret to a good break? I heard you talk about being able to shoot pool with your dad, so you know how to break, and I look like a 3-year-old with muscular dystrophy. I barely move anything, so could you just one hint to maybe something I'm doing wrong?
Bring the cue ball closer to the rail. It gives more, the transfer of your power through it gives you more power to break the balls. And I've been known to break balls all the time.
And also don't trust me to tell you what the rules of 8-ball are.
Yes. Billiards, we were just last weekend we were doing the 25-year secret stash bash in Red Bank for Kevin, and we all got this giant Airbnb house that we all stayed in, which I was like, how come we don't have cameras? This would be like the real world Clerks edition. It'd be fucking hilarious. I just want to do confessionals like, fucking Jay took a bathroom all to himself and blah, 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 you know, that kind of thing. But there was a pool table in this house, and Trevor's very good with just getting into the minutia, especially of like rules and stuff, and him and one of the other guests who were with us at the house got into this kind of thing about what the rules of the American Billiards Association has, and it made billiards kind of not fun.
Yeah, a chore. A slog and a dour chore. Yeah, I turn. That's what I do.
All right, this will be our last one, and then we'll have something special for you. So go ahead.
I was going to ask, you mentioned the alternate version of Clerks 3 from a few years ago, this darker version. Are you at liberty to share a little about that with us, and why you guys didn't like that idea?
We aren't at liberty to release the reason why it was so dark. We did 2 staged readings as a fundraiser for the First Avenue Playhouse in Leonardo, New Jersey, which is the place where we film those auditions for the original Clerks. So it was a fundraiser so that they could upgrade their lights and sound system and stuff. And we had 2 table reads of that over 2 days, and it went really well. But it's a really heavily emotional conflict between Randall and Dante. There's a real world situation that happens that affects the whole store and the neighborhood and stuff. And so it was that kind of situation. It was like, ooh, this turned very drama, serious, dark, kind of a Brian Johnson kind of script, really, if any of you ever seen the film Vulgar. So it was that type of feel that just didn't quite have the Clerks-esque to it. But throughout those 2 readings, Kevin, who read for the Randall part, funny enough, was able to take the things that were funny, the parts that did work from that draft, and work it into what you will see in the fall, the new Clerks 30. So that's the best thing about it. For him, it was almost like a workshop. He was like, all right, they didn't like the dark stuff, but I killed with the funny. So here we go.
And that's you supporting the arts, going out and doing those stage readings and everything else, living what you're saying out there. So, I gotta set this up very
Speaking
quickly.
of the arts.
I gotta set this up very quickly. Speaking of stage readings as well, I get to meet the 3 of these gentlemen last night, and then Trevor tells me they found out that last weekend, and do you want to go ahead and explain?
Yeah, I'll make this brief. When we were in New Jersey...
Bullshit.
I should say we have about 5 minutes.
Everybody sit down. When we were in New Jersey, there was a piece of fan art up on one of the walls that's Kevin, Jay, Brian, Jeff, and myself as the Sailor Moon girls. And it was really funny, so I took a picture of it, I sent it to my friends on a WhatsApp chat. One of my friends on that chat was like, oh shit, I bet you there's Randall Elias erotic fan fiction. And we were all like, no, there's not. And literally 1 minute later, she was like, found it. we thought it might be nice to do like a little performance of some of this erotic fan fiction for you.
So I do have to say, real quick, so then I'm walking away and Trevor goes, don't tell Jeff about this. It's fine. Don't tell Jeff about it. And then I get maybe 10 feet away and he goes, you really should check it out. So here we are.
Looked into this.
Some erotic fan fiction.
So I'm not sure where we want to start. I was kind of thinking,
I think the second paragraph down, wild, the lazy ass.
I like this part here when he's when Randall starts with, "What do you fantasize about?"
All right, we'll jump to that.
Hang on. Where is that?
It's kind of toward the end.
Oh. Fucking blowing you a little early as usual.
Oh, we could do that too. I'll go from wherever.
Where is it?
It's sort of toward the end. It says maybe ... What do you? We should probably in retrospect, we maybe should have fucking figured this out before we did
Okay, all right.
It was your idea. So what am I doing? All right, we're gonna start from there.
Yeah.
All right.
Can you call action?
Action.
What do you fantasize about?
You know, just doing things
Elias practically whispered.
with a guy.
Any specific guy?
He reflexively looked back up at Randall, whose eyes widened. As they met, Elias's own eyes widened.
Is this me?
Yeah.
Wait.
The younger man blushed, deepened. He couldn't bring himself to tear away his gaze, like a deer frozen in headlights.
Do you fantasize about me?
Elias appeared unable to answer. Elias was unable to answer the question, which in itself basically answered the question.
Holy shit, you do!
He tried to swallow the lump in his throat, but it wouldn't go down.
That wasn't a lump.
That's not in the script.
Well, what do you imagine?
He noted the twinkle in Randall's half-lidded eyes as a devilish smirk spread across the latter's face. Predatorially, Randall stepped closer to Elias, who subconsciously took a step back.
Oh, I'm not reading.
That gets
All
dirty.
right, I told you I'm all in for Clerks 3. Here we go. Do you imagine me fucking you?
Randall stepped forward until he backed Elias Elias up against the wall in anticipation of whatever was to happen next. The younger man's chest rose and fell, heavy, shaky breaths as he stared pleadingly into Randall's eyes.
Well, do you?
Yes.
Elias gasped and threw his arms around Randall, smashing their lips together. The latter's eyes widened in surprise, but slowly closed as they reciprocated the kiss. Elias whimpered as Randall's tongue pushed its way into his mouth, but quickly pulled away when a wad of gum plopped into it.
Ew, man. Oh my god, that's so fucking funny.
Randall said somewhat sheepishly, but mostly amused. He watched Elias remove the gum, which Randall then plucked from Elias' fingers and stuck to the underside of the nearest display shelf.
Ew, you can't leave that there. Why is this author so concerned about this gum?
Well, where the hell do you want me to put it?
The trash can is right over there. This goes on
Elias
for like
pointed.
Whatever.
Randall rolled his eyes and removed the gum from underneath the shelf before walking towards the trash can, where he threw out the said gum.
Sorry about that.
He apologized. Once he was back in front of Elias, though, with some space between them as they stared insecurely at each other, an awkward silence fell over them, which Randall finally broke when a thought popped into his head.
Oh shit, Myra!
His eyes
Dude, your
widened.
girlfriend!
I don't have a girlfriend, Randall.
Elias bowed his head in humiliation and kept his eyes on the floor as blush crept back over his face.
You guys broke up? That's why you responded so weirdly when I brought her up earlier?
He emphatically shook his head, surprised at how stupid Randall could sometimes be. Despite the latter's quick wit and the ability to think for himself,
I've never had a girlfriend, Randall. Myra is made up.
Randall's jaw dropped.
You guys broke up? I mean...
No, you're reading the same way. Alright, this is getting old, I think. Should we...
Cut!
Oh, really? You want to keep...
No.
Somebody's like, no.
No, this is.
Somebody out there
There's like
gotta
4
finish.
Holy cake! Anyway, then they make out and they try on.
And then you have a new Patreon idea right here. No,
Yeah.
so
I just want to put this out like scattering dandelion seeds into the wind. If you guys can find any more Randall Elias erotic fan fiction,
You know where our table is.
send it my way. Anyway, thank you for indulging me in that. That was a dream come true.
I will literally never forget this moment in my life. So thank you so much, and thank you to all of the creativity and art that you helped put out into the world, because clearly it's made such an impact on everybody in this room, so many people all across the world. So thank you for what you've done, and talk about an amazing narrator.
Oh yeah, great job, Ryan.
Fucking professional, bro. You're welcome.
Thank you so much to you. Ryan O'Halloran, Jeff Anderson, John Coleman, both these Clerks 3.
Real quick, I just want to say thank you to everybody for coming out. Like I said, I haven't done many of these cons, but it's been amazing meeting all of you, and thank you so much.